Hey guys, welcome back to the second episode of The Pro's Point of View. I'm Whitney Jones.
Damien Segovia? Yeah!
Wow, okay.
I heard last time there was some comments that I looked bored or I was watching butterflies fly around. So hey, today I'm going to be like this the whole time.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so.
Focused.
We think he's had a little too much pre-workout, but hey, at least if we get a little more spunk this time,
Yes.
might be interesting.
Yes.
So today we are talking about cardio. So this is a very debated topic. Again, these are our opinions, so take it for what it's worth. We're going to give you our impression, our opinions, pros and cons, but basically we're going to talk about a few things, starting first with steady state cardio versus HIIT. So take it away, Crazy.
I'm starting?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wait, I thought you were starting.
Okay, whatever. All right, so.
She likes to do steady state in the morning, so
Yes.
she'll tell you her opinion. Good cop, I'll be bad cop.
Yes. So
like always, unfortunately.
I personally like the steady state cardio in the morning because for me, it helps start my day off right. Steady state cardio is a great way to boost your metabolism. For me, obviously, it's not intense, so you can roll out of bed. If you are just walking around the neighborhood, if you have cardio equipment at home, or if you stroll to your gym, just get moving. It's going to get your heart rate pushed up, moving, blood flowing. You need that to kind of help get your endorphins going. And then mentally, it helps me start my day off right. So steady state cardio is a great way so that you can take accountability for your day, for your actions. It starts you off on a good foot, eating great, getting some cardio in, and then do your workout later. Now, the other option is HIIT. HIIT first thing in the morning is something I personally don't do. If I'm doing steady state cardio in the morning, it's fasted, and that helps me, again, burn some additional fat. This is where it gets a little tricky, and all in all, this goes back to you, and you have to understand what your own body's needs are. So what may work for me and what may work for you is totally, totally different. But for me, I prefer steady state in the morning, and then I do HIIT later. So fasted steady state, and then if I do my HIIT cardio, it's after I have some fuel and energy. So what do you have to add to that?
Nothing.
Yes, you do. Come on.
Are we going to topic 2 or are we staying on
Go
one?
for it.
Well, topic 2, you're talking about fasted versus non-fasted cardio. Like she's saying, a lot of competitors, HIIT is obviously extremely hard to do when it's fasted in the morning. I do have some of my athletes do that, but they are traditionally, I would say like athletes. They were people that played sport in college, so they're kind of used to pushing themselves to that limit. I know in the bodybuilding circles, like we all kind of push fasted cardio because it's supposed to help burn more body fat. Well, for every one study that says it does, there's one study that says it doesn't do anything any more beneficial than eating a meal before you do cardio. I always try to preach, if you want to be treated like an athlete, you want to eat like an athlete, then you need to train like an athlete. So I like HIIT cardio, but I don't necessarily recommend it all the time on a fasted stomach. Whatever. You know the point. The reason why is just because if you're like deep into prep and you're trying to do cardio fasted all the time, most likely you're gonna feel pretty like taxed. You get a lot of clients that sometimes like, I feel dizzy. Then don't do fasted cardio. Mm-hmm. If that's something that you feel, then you need to talk to your coach and let them know like, hey, I'm getting dizzy in the morning when I'm doing my cardio. I feel like I'm gonna pass out. That's something you should not have to do in order to get in shape, especially contest shape.
Well, one thing I want to add to that too is you've got to know your own capability. If you can push hard with HIIT, then for me personally, I love my HIIT cardio. I like to do it post-workout because I've had fuel, I've had several meals. Typically throughout the day, I train later in the day usually, and my explosiveness, my intensity with my HIIT training is 10 times better post-workout and later in the day than if I was ever to do it fasted. So I know it's 10 times more beneficial for me to do steady state in the morning and then HIIT later because I look at the amount of calories that I burn and just even the times that I go through my circuits, and I'm way more efficient doing my HIIT later. But one tip I would say is you need to really document this. For any athlete that is serious about prep, you should really track every little thing you do. For example, I weigh myself every day. Now, that's not necessarily the most recommended because sometimes people get really pissed off at the scale, and you got to learn to ignore it.
I got a lot of those.
But but I have documented my weight every single day for 4 years now with notes on it. Simple things like I had my cheat meal, and then the next day, obviously, the weight went up. Or certain things like I didn't get enough sleep, I was low on my water. You start to anticipate those things. So I bring that up because when it goes to cardio, I started noticing on certain days I was not as efficient. I just couldn't push hard. Well, that played a lot into what I was doing the day prior, how much food I had throughout the day previously. So again, it's all about a learning lesson. Understand what your needs are, and then cardio, there are tons of options. So we want to talk about variety, and then we'll close it out. But do not stick to the same cardio all the time. Your body gets used to it. So people are like, oh yeah, I do Stairmaster. I've done that for a full year, 20 minutes every other day. Your body is so used to it, it's not burning near what it did initially when you started. So you got to change it up. Constantly keep your body guessing. And it's not that you even have to have cardio equipment at a gym. Be creative. You can do cardio at home. Burpees, jump rope, high knees. Get creative. You can do it anywhere at any time. So there really is no excuse. If you got to get it in and you're accountable to your own actions, then you will find a way to make it happen. So just some tips from us. Oh, go ahead.
Another tip, like if you're a person that really does love fasted cardio and you enjoy doing HIIT on an empty stomach, try to maybe possibly backload some of your calories at the end of your day, meaning eating a little bit more before you go to bed the night before. So that way when you do wake up, you have a little bit more in your system that you're able to push without having that dizzy, woozy feeling that you might go through. Again, like I said, I have some athletes that do HIIT in the morning fasted. I have some athletes that don't. Traditionally, the ones that do are ones that have an athletic background and are kind of used to doing, workouts. Also, we get a big question. If you're a person where your schedule only really works for you to do everything in the morning. We get athletes that for 2 or 3 weeks, they're like, hey, I've been getting up, doing my fasted cardio, and then I do my workout, and then I eat meal one. Honestly, I don't know the studies on that, and I don't know if there is any studies that go that in depth when it comes to cardio and lifting, but common sense would tell you there's no point of spending all the off season trying to build all this muscle just to go through a process like that, because most likely you're going to burn a lot more of your lean muscle than you would have. So my suggestion would be, if that is something you feel you absolutely need to do, eat meal one, go to the gym, work out, do your cardio post-workout. I don't necessarily recommend having people do cardio before their workouts, as it tends to be counterproductive.
Yeah.
You want as much energy as possible to put into your weights, because that's where your intensity comes from, of trying to stimulate the muscle and kind of reminding the muscle like, hey, I need you to lift these heavy weights. Then do your cardio afterwards. I feel like that works a little bit better as far as also putting them in the fat burning zone, because they've kind of used up some of their energy during the weight training sessions. So those are basic things that I recommend. Are they right or wrong? I've had decent success in our sport at it, so possibly, but there might be other people that disagree, and that's fine. But those are tips I would probably say when it comes to fasted, HIIT, steady state. And then also, as you get closer to your show, most likely we're always going to recommend you to cut back on your HIIT, just because it does create a little bit of inflammation, especially if you're doing a lot of pounding, sprinting, jumping. So usually most of us trainers in this building kind of recommend, as you get closer, to switch to more steady state and less impact, just because it is going to bring down that inflammatory response. So you're not maybe retaining as much water and you're not as beat up, because at that point your joints are pretty achy because you're really leaned out. You don't really have a lot of fatty acid, and things like that.
And injuries.
Correct.
When you're leaner, you risk injury, and you've got to be careful about that, which goes into play as well. Like, if you're having hamstring issues, but you love to walk on an incline on the treadmill, you got to change it up, because that's really going to hit it. So there's always options. Just find another route. And more importantly, it goes back to accountability, trial and error of your own body and how it responds to different things. So pay attention to what you're doing. Utilize all the information that you can get. Hopefully this has helped you somewhat as well.
And one more too, we've got to talk about. This is always geared a little bit more towards, I would say, women athletes, because obviously bodybuilders are totally different. When you're 300 pounds and you have a lot of muscle, they probably can't do as much maybe HIIT as like somebody like a bikini competitor would. So I don't want people to be like, oh, well, Phil Heath, the best in the world, does this and this. Well, Phil Heath's a different animal. We're talking about bikini fitness athletes, figure athletes. So in my opinion, it's different. So I tend to treat those athletes a little different than somebody who's extremely heavy and he's a bodybuilder. That's a whole different set of rules in my opinion. So yeah.
So that's it. Wraps up episode 2 of The Pro's Point of View with Whitney and Crazy Damien.